Hi, welcome to PD6S channel. So you want to buy a handgun. That's the topic of this video. Now, maybe it's your first handgun, maybe you had a couple. These are most of the popular options. There's a few, big ones missing. I'd like to have a XD representative and a CZ75 derivative on this table. But short of that, we got most of them. Now some of these like revolvers and 22s and shit, you'll see why there's just one. Okay, this is pretty much, as far as all revolvers go, I'm going to tell you not to buy one. Are they cool? Do they work? Sure, they do. Are they the best gun you could have for self-defense? No. Are they the best range gun you could have? No. There are revolvers that are good range guns. Not saying that. It really depends on what you're wanting to do. If you're looking for a long range handgun, the entry into that would be Magnum revolvers. And then next step from that would be those hunting pistols that they're like fucking 270s and 30-06s with a fucking thumb hole hand grip thing for you to hold on to. I wouldn't even get into those. Anyway, so besides the revolver, what else wouldn't I buy? I wouldn't get a 22. And the main reason for that is it's not a good defensive round. The ammo's more expensive than it used to be. And I don't feel that it accurately represents any of the rest of these guns as far as training goes. And everybody's like, well, trigger time's trigger time. Well, no. A whole big part of shooting guns like these is recoil management. Sorry. This gun has no recoil. Pretty much. I mean, I could shoot that thing super fast with no consequences. Okay? Shooting, a 226 or Glock 26 or an M&P9 or a 45 1911 fast, you're going to have to work on some recoil. Okay? That's my main point with 22s, is that they aren't good for what I would want a handgun for. Derringers, I got a couple of here. Got the double tap. This is interesting. I bought it just because I like the Cop Derringer, and I kind of see this as an improved Cop. Cop is a 4-shot 357 Magnum. It's a 2-shot 9mm, pretty much the same design. I mean, it's scarily similar. And this is a 22 caliber pin gun. It's pretty cool. And I bought this pretty much because I think it's neat and it's kind of a collectible, in that it transforms into a pin. So that's why I own those. They're just collectible pieces. If you're looking for something to collect, those are going nowhere but up. Okay. Derringers are always kind of neat to collect. I mean, you can have a whole big collection of Derringers. But if you're looking for something practical, those are also kind of out. 380s. The Walther PPK or the SIG 238 or those guns and a few others are very good guns. However, these days, for the same size as this, you could get a tiny 9mm. I would just go that route personally. Yet again, I have this as a collectible. This is an early Inner Arms PPK S before they started doing the long tail and making them look stupid but shoot better. So that's pretty much all of the immediate no's. Let me put those to the side so we don't get distracted anymore. That fucking mower's getting annoying. Thought he was going away, that's why I started this video, so I apologize if you're having trouble hearing me. So what's left? Well, pretty much you've got polymer autos like these. You've got aluminum framed autos. And you've got some steel frame options too, but those are kind of a couple different categories. Most aluminum framed guns are going to be double action, single action. They're going to be 9mm, 40 or 45. Okay, if I could talk. Many moons ago, I would have said just 9mm or 40, but there have been several high cap 45s showing up that are either aluminum framed and built like this or polymer framed and built like this in the case of the FNX 45. Pretty much caliber wise, I'm going to steer you towards 9mm or 45 depending on what it is you're wanting to do. And you might say, well, why would you pick those over the other calibers? Well, like I said, 22's out, 380's out. Revolver calibers like 38, 357, 44 mag, all those are out. So what are we left with? Well, you got 357 SIG, 40, 10mm, 45, 9mm, 9mm Makarov 9x18, 7.62 Toke. You could get like a Kunin 357 Magnum. It's like a 1911 made to shoot 357. That's kind of cool, but at the same time not very practical. So I'm gonna take that one back. So basically, there's like 7 or 8 calibers really that you could choose from at this point in this conversation. And 9 and 45 are the lowest pressure, softest shooting, hardest hitting rounds in that group. And by that I mean 9mm, you know, it's famous, you know, fucking Lugers, MP40s, MP5s, P38s, Glocks 6, everything's in 9mm. Berettas are famous for not being 9mm. I don't think there's any debate that the 9mm can be effective, okay? And the reason 45 is even still on the table is because we're going to talk about 1911s too. And a 1911 in any caliber but 45 is a fucking travesty and should not be done. At least in my opinion. So, I'm going to stop the video here. I'm going to restart it in a second. Okay, so anything in a 1911 that's not a 45 is just horrible. So that brings us down to 9mm and 45. As far as 9mm go, if you don't have much money, the two guns I'd recommend to you would either be a Tokarev, which the Yugoslavian, Serbian company Zastava has some guns out. I think Century Arms is the one importing them, and they are, I think, the M70. I may be wrong about that. Don't quote me on the model name, but it's a Tokarev in 9mm. Okay, and you know, as far as cheap guns go, that's, you know, under 250 bucks. That's a really good deal on a gun. Okay, it is steel framed, and I wouldn't want to carry it, so that kind of limits that. It's kind of a range gun. But if you just want something to shoot and you don't have much money, I would definitely pick it over a Hi-Point, which would be your next budget option. However, if you have just a little bit more money, you can get this. This is a Smith & Wesson SD9 VE. They used to make these in black or silver. I think this is just bare stainless, to be honest with you. Now they just make them in stainless. They don't make the black nitride coated one because this one was always cheaper, so therefore it always sold better. The black one was sharp looking though. Anyway, this gun is right at like $299. So after tax, you're talking $324, $325, somewhere in there. And that's a gun I would carry. That's a gun I would defend myself with. That's, you know, as far as any of the guns on the table, it could compete with most of them. It's like an M&P with a shittier trigger and different magazines. Which, moving up the line in price through the 9mm, you have Glock and Smith & Wesson and XD and CZ75s. All of those are in roughly the same range. Why don't I own an XD or a CZ75? Well, It's pretty simple. I think XDs suck. So if you own an XD and your butt hurt, I'm sorry, but I owned one for a little bit. I shot it a little bit. It wasn't for me. Okay, I actually think the Canik TP9 is a better gun. Which, now that I say that, it reminds me, in between the Glock and this price-wise is the Canik TP9, which they're coming out with a new version of that has no decocker on it. Once that is out, if it is at the same, you know, $350, $369 price point as the current TP9 SA is, I would definitely look hard at one of those over this gun. So it's kind of like the next step up. And then from it, these two are roughly the same price. But first, CZ75s. Why don't I own one of those? I've owned them in the past. They do shoot well. They're nice guns. They're steel frame 9mm. They're kind of a range gun. I would love to have a, like, 1975, 1976 first generation CZ75 with the waffle grips and the real far cut on the high power cut that they had. I think that would be pretty sweet. Other than that, I'm not really that interested in them unless I could get, you know, I guess TriStar, Canik, one of those makes a old school CZ75 clone. Still has the round trigger guard, and I have a set of waffle grips. That may be in my future. Okay, I don't know if the grips will fit or not, but if they do, then that's definitely going to be a gun I'm going to be interested in purchasing. Mainly just because I like the look of the really old CZs. As far as the new ones go, I just don't think that they are on par with these guns. That's why I don't own them. Now, Glock and M&P. Basically, this is the Austrian version. This is the American version. I really prefer Glock to M&P for most things, but I'd say this is my first M&P, and it's pretty sweet. I would definitely not tell you not to get an M&P. I like the looks of the Glock better. Everyone says, oh, Glocks are ugly. To me, this kind of looks, I think I said in the first impressions video, it looks like a 90s car. I mean, did it look cool in its day? Maybe. Does it look cool today? Not so much. And this thing looks like a muscle car. I mean, it's all blocky and squared off, and it looks cool no matter what generation it's in. It does its own thing. So for me, I would buy the Glock. And the Glock is probably going to be just a little cheaper than the M&P, but really not enough to make any difference. The M&P does have some good benefits to it, though. I mean, the takedown is superior. The trigger is probably inferior, mainly because it doesn't bother me, but it does bother some people. It does have interchangeable back straps and a built-in punch, which is kind of cool. And it has metal sights from the factory. Not night sights, though, because, God, why would you put night sights from the factory on a combat handgun? Which brings us to SIG. Actually brings us to Beretta. Let's cover SIG last. The M9, there's only a couple reasons to love the M9. Dirt cheap magazines that generally work. This is a Checkmate, which is generally considered the worst of the magazines. And I've run these shit tons and they work. Honestly, I think all the complaints about the Beretta and its shitty mags come from the military, and that's a whole nother video. As far as what I think about, you know, people in the military and their opinion on handguns. It's generally pretty low, let's just say that much. I'll make that a future video. Watch for that. Anyway. So, why buy a Beretta? Well, if you look around on the used market, you can, on occasion, find someone who's got one of these and can't sell it, and he'll sell it for, you know, $400, $450. In that case, which is how I've gotten many of these over the years, in that case, this gun is superior to every gun on the table. So I shit you not. For that much money, this is the best gun. Now it's fucking airplanes too. I need a studio so fucking bad. Mainly because I won't have to deal with fucking bird shit, which apparently you guys are noticing. It's an outdoor table. Get over it. Guns are tools. I don't really care if they sit next to bird shit. They touch the bird shit, that's a different story maybe, but anyway. Now that the plane's gone, the reason I say this is the best gun on the table, if it is at $400, is because what else could you get at 400 bucks? Used and thrashed versions of these, overpriced versions of these, maybe Canik TP9, that would be its chief competition at that price point. And this is a made in America by an Italian company gun, double action, single action, aluminum frame, one of the most accurate guns on the table, and is almost as good as a SIG, which is, as far as I'm concerned, top of the mark on these guns. And it's at 400 bucks. So if you can score one of these cheap, I would do that. And as far as, well, I need a carry gun, I could carry that gun. If you're a tiny dude, maybe not, but if you're a big guy, you could carry that gun easy. Hell, fuck, John McClane did it. And he blew up Nakatomi Tower or some shit like that. It's a Die Hard reference. Anyway. That brings us to SIGs. Now, whether we're talking the SIG P320, P250, or the 226, 229, 228, aluminum framed, either one, you're talking more money than a Glock or a Smith. Really, for the 320s, the new striker fired things, it's not that much more than that. And all SIGs come with factory night sights. That's a plus. They all work. That's a plus. I know I'm going to get some contestation on that from a few of you who are like, well, the Exeter SIGs don't work. I've never seen a SIG that didn't work. That wasn't just like an odd lemon or something like that. Those happen from time to time. I had a 229 and 40 that would not shoot 40. You pop the 357 SIG barrel in it, it shoots just fine, which tells me just a fucked up barrel, something like that. Those things happen with any company. I'm not saying SIG's immune to that, but if I was going to run with a gun out of the box, no test firing, no nothing, being dropped into a combat situation, it would either be a Glock or SIG. I don't really care which at that point. I would trust either one of those out of the box. Some of the others maybe not so much. Okay, that's pretty much all the 9mm. I mean, if you're going to go the 9mm route, I would advise you to get a Glock. Really, any of these guns you see on the table, it's a good choice. It's just how much money do you want to spend? Glock is a middle-of-the-road choice. It's a good gun. I think everyone can shoot one pretty damn well. Thank you, fucking lawnmower. Anyway, are there better choices? Maybe. And there's no gun on this table that I would say is definitively, head and shoulders better than the Glock. I would say like the SIG and Beretta and M&P are about equal to it. Maybe these two are better at certain things than these two, just because they're aluminum, not polymer. Extra weight allows you to shoot faster, that sort of thing. But if you're gonna go, well, none of that matters to me, any of these guns are going to be about the same. And this one is like 500 plus tax, and this one's like 900 plus tax. Okay, like I said, you might be able to score one of those for as cheap as 400 bucks. I did score this one for 400 bucks. 325, 250. By the way, that's the actual Russian token 7.62 by 25. Just in case anyone was curious. It even has a little CCP on the grips, which is pretty cool. Sorry, CCCP. I always leave out a C, I don't know why. So, okay. Let's say you've gone, well, I don't want a 9mm. That's a squirrel shooting round, or whatever the fuck it is people say. You're stupid. I think you should go with 9mm. But let's say you just want a 1911. That brings us to these two. I think those are in frame, sort of. This is just a standard GI model. I would advise you not to get this in some ways, but to get this in others. If you're gonna fuck with it and tinker with it, GI model's not a bad way to go. And the reason I say that is because you could get a Rock Island basically like this thing for $400 and it'll work. The Rock Islands do work. I've never seen one that didn't. This is actually a Colt parts kit on a Caspian Arms frame. I built this gun. It's very nice. I like it. It's made to be an old war relic type gun. That's why it has a fucked up finish and all the rest of that shit. I couldn't get the lower and upper to match. I mean, the slide and frame to match. So I just kind of wore the edges on the frame. I think it has kind of a cool look to it. Anyway, the main reason I'd tell you not to go with this gun isn't because of all the back end of this shit, which we'll get to in a minute. It's the sights. Okay? I would find the cheapest one you could in Rock Island's catalog that had at least this style of sight. Which these are actually going bye-bye here pretty soon on this gun, and it's got XS big dot night sights coming. It's gonna be a fucking badass gun when I get done with it. Now, the good thing about getting a Rock Island is all of this work that you see on this gun, you could pretty much do. Now, some of it you may not be able to do unless you're, you know, a fairly competent metal worker. And there's a lot of sanding and grinding involved in fitting a lot of these parts. I mean, if you look on the back there, I had to grind on the frame of this gun in order to get this to fit. Most people are not comfortable with doing that. The Wilson trigger is awesome. It's like $28, but I did have to sand it a considerable bit to fit it to the gun. And it's just a little loose, but I think, honestly, in order to be reliable, it needs to be a little loose. But it's much tighter than, like, this one. This thing is a fucking rattle trap. Anyway, the Magwell flat mainspring housing thing back here, that's drop-in. You can just drop that one in. The hammer was drop-in, but you have to do the beaver tail at the same time, which is not drop-in. I had to fit the frame, and I had to fit the safety inside. There's a bar in there that is your grip safety. But basically, when this moves, it's moving that bar in and out of the way of this trigger. And you have to know how to fit that. The barrel bushing compensators drop in. So you could do a lot of this shit yourself to one of those GI guns if you went that way. Do it cheap. Now, if you have money to blow, you can get guns that have all these features as standard. Okay, and even have improved sights as standard. I would definitely look at like the Remington R1 Enhanced. It's a good gun. Excuse me. The Remington R1, just standard model, is pretty good. Little basic 1911 too, and it comes with a fairly decent set of sights on it. SIG makes a bunch of 1911s that I wouldn't own. Yeah, you heard it here. I really don't like SIG's 1911s. Mainly because their frames and slides depart from standard. I don't like the external extractors on most SIG's 1911s. Is it a better design than the internal? Yes, but I am used to the internal and know how to tune and fit it. I have no fucking clue on that thing, so I want mine to be a standard gun. So are 1911s an option? Shit, yes. If you're not going to carry the gun, you just want a range gun, 1911's awesome. If you're going to carry the gun, a 1911 would not be my first choice. I don't know, I can carry a 1911, it's not really a big deal, but it's not something you're going to carry every day, I can guarantee you that much. You're going to get tired of it and you're going to want to carry something else. That's how people end up carrying a tiny pocket 380 every day. So anyway, other 45s you might consider. The SIG P220 is actually a gun I hate. Most people don't know that. I've had several people go, well, why do you like the 1911 so much? Wouldn't you rather have a SIG 220? No, that gun fucking sucks. Why does it suck? It's really pretty simple. The 226 is perfect. Is a perfect gun. The 220 is pre-perfection, so why would I want pre-perfection? Okay. If I'm going to be launching 45, I'm going to have 1911. Why do you think I don't like the 220? That and on the 220, the controls are wonky. When you hit this, you see how it stops and you can ease it up? It doesn't do that on the 220. It goes like that no matter what you do. You can't ease the hammer down. It's going to make noise every time, and I don't like that. I also don't like the way it shoots. It's pretty snappy for what it is. I'd rather have the 1911 yet again. And the main reason it sucks is same fucking magazine, basically. I mean, it's an 8-round 45. It does take a different design of magazine, but it's the same capacity. So that one's out as far as I'm concerned, because you should just go buy a 1911. They make aluminum framed 1911s. I would buy one of those way before I bought a 220. Okay. How about the 227? That one's at least more interesting, but yet again, capacity-wise, it's only 2 more than a 1911. And I've already told you, the 1911 is a perfect 45. So if you're going to carry the gun, I would look at that gun. If you're going to carry the gun, I would also look at Glock 21/41. I would look at the Glock 30S. I would look at the FNX 45. Probably not the tactical model, and that's a pretty big gun to carry. But, you know, maybe you're an idiot or something. I don't know. We've already accepted the fact that you must have a 45. The M&P makes an interesting 45. It's only 10 rounds, which I'm going to level the same criticism, just to be fair. And why not just get a 1911? But if you're like, well, I want to carry it, I would say the M&P 45 is probably one of the better carry full-size 45s. It's a well-balanced of features, weight to ammo capacity. But yet again, Glock is superior. It holds 3 more rounds and it looks better. Although the 45 does have the front cocking serrations on it, which makes it look a little bit better. So, any other 45s? Not really. Oh yeah, I almost forgot the XDS and XDM 45s. The XDS is an interesting 45. Does it have the same capacity as this gun? Yes, and in some magazines even less, but is it lighter weight? Is it smaller? Yes and yes. So if you're a 1911 guy and you want a carry gun and a 1911, I would definitely look at the XDS and a Springfield Armory 1911, which this is, by the way. This is an old made in Illinois Springfield Armory, which they haven't made in years. All their guns are made in Brazil now, in case you didn't know that. So that's pretty much, you know, you're looking to buy a handgun. This is the conversation I think we would probably have. As far as finalists go, I would definitely say a 45, the SD9 VE, the Glock. I would not consider this a finalist. It is a good cheap gun though. And I would also consider the M&P and the SIG probably to be finalists. And I would throw the Beretta in if you could get one cheap. If you're paying full MSRP for a Beretta, I would get a SIG. These are our finalists, I guess. And of those, my picks honestly would be the Glock and the SIG. So what does all this boil down to? Well, the debate in handgun circles for years has always been, which is better, Glock or SIG? I think that's probably a prudent debate, and that's probably going to be the topic of a future video. I'm going to say, as far as I'm concerned for right now, I love both Glocks and SIGs. And the Smiths and the 1911s too, don't get me wrong. But of those two favorites, it's like choosing your favorite kid at that point. I mean, is the SIG, you know, excellent at a lot of things? Yeah, it is. But is the Glock also excellent? Yes, it is. There's not going to be a clear-cut winner between them. Kind of like 9 versus 45. There's not going to be a clear-cut winner between them. So I think if you pick any of the guns I showed in this video after that initial, let's take out the stupid shit round, you're going to be good. So be sure to thumbs up, like the video, subscribe, and do all the rest of that bullshit, and I'll see you guys later.